Welcome to Beyond the School Gate. For those of you who are new around here, my name is Ruth, and this podcast aims to share the varied experiences of women in leadership, to talk about what we do beyond the school gate, the good, the bad, and the funny. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. For those of you who are new around here, my name is Ruth, and I started this podcast it's pretty much a year ago. And I started the podcast because I really wanted to amplify the voices of women in leadership. And having moved to Canberra maybe 3 years before I started the podcast, I didn't really have a massive social network, and I didn't really have a huge amount of social capital having moved from the UK. So I kind of combined those two things. I wanted to reach out and connect with other women in leadership positions, but I also just wanted to amplify the voices of women in leadership and share just some of our awesome experiences, the good, the bad, and the funny. So I wanted to just pop on and do a short podcast today talking about some of my lessons that I've learned over the last nearly 12 months. I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know anything in regards to running a podcast when I started, and I just thought, let me just give it a shot. Let me just give it a try. So I've got some notes here to kind of keep me to script. And I just wanted to share my experience of setting up this podcast and where I want to take it in 2023 and beyond, really. So I suppose the first thing that really stands out for me is just how connected the Canberra community was. A lot of people say it's a big country town, and it's kind of, I would pretty much agree with that. I think everybody knows everybody. And one of the things that's really stood out for me is the network of women within Canberra and how connected everybody is. My experience has been everybody's happy to kind of share your details with somebody else or connect you with somebody else. I was talking to a friend I actually met online, not through the podcast, through our family YouTube channel, about the next stage that I want to take the podcast, and generously offered me her skills. Her background is in, I think, PR and marketing. So she offered me her skills for free. She's on maternity leave. She was like, yep, more than happy. Let's come up with a plan, a PR plan. That's just so generous. I never thought I'd be in a position where I'd made connections with people. And again, we just met randomly online. I think she came across our family YouTube channel, and again, generously offered her skills and her expertise while she's on maternity leave. So we're going to do a bit of a skill swap. I'm going to babysit her children, her beautiful children, and she's going to help me with the podcast stuff. The other thing that really stood out is I can learn new skills. I say to Ahmed all the time, I've never really been a creative person, but I've learned how to edit. I'm getting better with the sound. I'm getting better with the lighting. Like all of those things, I'm trying to teach myself and learning new skills, which is really cool. And it's actually transferable skills. Some of the skills I've learned through the podcast I'm actually able to use in my 9-to-5 job. I'm an executive director at a local NGO, and I'm able to use some of the podcasting skills that I have developed here in my day job, and vice versa as well, which is pretty awesome. I probably hadn't made that connection when I started doing the podcast, that there would be that level of transferable skills, which I think is awesome. But there are some challenges that come along with it. I think I go in and out of having imposter syndrome. If you haven't listened to some of my previous episodes, they're all on Spotify and they're all on YouTube. So go back and click. But I share a bit in my Pregnant at 17 episode where I suppose some of that imposter syndrome comes from. So I kind of go between imposter syndrome and then, no, I can do this. Of course I can. If you can, I can type of I'm super confident vibes, and I float between the two. But I think negative self-talk for me has probably come to the top over the last couple of months, where now I have collaboration packages for the podcast and I'm engaging with people, and I'm entering more into that business space. I think up until probably the halfway mark, I was getting guests on. There was no charge. It was kind of help me build my experience. I was learning through these guests. So it was just Me doing it as a hobby, no charge for anybody, just paying out of my own pocket for kit, equipment and stuff like that, and just having it as a hobby and something fun to do. And now kind of tipping over at the halfway mark to this actually being a business and having collaboration packages and things like that. It feels really weird approaching a business and saying, hey, would you like to feature on my podcast? This is how much it's going to cost you and this is what you'll get. It's just weird. It's just a really weird vibe, and it feels uncomfortable, and it's not something that I'm used to doing in this environment. But then again, when you lay it over other experience, that's what I do in my day job. We have fee for service provision. We have fee for service training. We have expertise within the organization that we sell. I do that thing in my day-to-day life, as in companies pay us and we will provide this service for you. And I have no issue doing that in my day-to-day job. But when you translate it into this space, it just feels really weird. So that's probably something I'm going to try and work on over the next 6 months, because I just think it could be a barrier to me pushing the podcast forward. Apart from that, I don't think I have many other things that I'm massively struggling with. I need to obviously continue to learn, grow and develop in regards to the podcast and the promotion and the social media stuff. But again, I'm learning. Before starting the podcast, I, as an individual, was never on social media. I never had an Instagram or Facebook, like personally. We've got another business that we do with what I do with my husband and my children. So we have our own YouTube channel in that space. So I suppose the business in that sense has had social media, but as an individual, I've never had social media. And this podcast is massively, it's me, right? It's me doing something on my own, having my own social media. So even that has been like really weird. What am I comfortable with? What am I not comfortable with putting out online? Is this too much information sharing? Are you not giving people enough? So it's a bit of trial and error, and I'm definitely learning. And there's a few women that I have learned a lot from in the online space, and again are just sharing their experience and sharing their expertise and giving you tips and tricks and things like that, which is pretty awesome. So I've made some really good connections online. I've also lined up my guests from January to June 2023 already, which is pretty awesome. Again, one of those guests is somebody that I met online through Instagram, and she'll be coming on in the first quarter of next year. And I met her on Instagram, followed her story, we've been messaging a little bit, and then I plucked up the courage and was like, do you want to come on the podcast? And she was like, yeah, of course, no worries, sounds good, I'm excited. So yeah, it's a bit of trial and error with social media, and I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm developing, but I'm definitely making connections, which is really, really nice. So what's in store for 2023? I hear you yell. I think a lot of things. I'm definitely moving towards getting a couple of mentors. So I have a business mentor lined up. I'm doing some stuff with, like I said before, marketing expert, which is pretty awesome. And then I'm just looking, I want to have 3 mentors. One is about like marketing promotion. One is business. I really want to understand and grow and develop more from a business perspective. So I want that. And then there's another one where I kind of want I want a mentor or a coach in leadership in general. I think as a woman in leadership, I've been in a leadership position for, like, formally, if you say by title, management leadership, probably for the last 20 years. And you continue to grow, learn and develop. And I think it's really important to have a mentor in that space. Nobody knows everything. There's still so much that you can learn, grow and develop. Also in 2023, look, I'm going to put it out there, and I hope I don't regret putting it out there. At the moment, in the first year, I did an episode a month, pretty much every month. I think there was a couple of months where I was just struggling and guests had cancelled and I just couldn't figure it out. And that's fine. Like, that's fine. It's the first year. I think I put out 10 episodes. So that's okay. But in 2023, I really want to just elevate to the next level. And I'm scared can you see I'm skirting around what I want to say? I'm a little bit scared to commit to it. I'm going to try, where possible, I regret saying this already. No, I'm going to try where possible to put out 2 episodes a month, where I can. Not every single month, where I can. I really, really want to get to a place where you're getting 2 episodes a month. One is a guest episode, and then one is just a chatty catch up, kind of us talking about specific topics. So I'm going to be putting out some calls on Instagram, and for those of you who follow on Instagram, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that engagement. I'm going to be putting out a lot of polls and questions and things in my stories to try and find out what topics in regards to leadership do you want me to focus on. I think it'll be really cool for you guys to suggest some topics, and then it's like a rant with Ruth. Do you know what I mean? That type of vibe where once a month I just talk about a topic that you guys have picked, and then I also get a phenomenal woman that's in leadership on the podcast to talk about their experience and to amplify the voices of their experience. I think that would be pretty cool. And what would also be cool is if you could tell me about specific scenarios within the workplace that you've faced as a woman in leadership, and I can just give a little bit of commentary around those situations or those scenarios. I think that would be really fun as well. So I want to make the podcast a bit more engaging, definitely continue to have guests on. I want to have a minimum of one guest a month. And just over here in the new podcast studio, I've got the mirrors. So it was my daughter's bedroom. So it's got like triple mirrors, the glass mirrors, and I've got the glass pens. And in the middle panel, I've kind of got everybody lined up for Jan to June. Then I've got some gaps in the second half of the year. And then on the other side of the mirror, it's I've written on it, what do women do beyond the school gate? And then every guest that I have in the studio is going to write a little message on there. So I'm hoping by this time next year, as I do my wrap up of 2023, I'll be able to show you guys, and that board will be really filled up of inspirational quotes or messages or words of wisdom from other women in leadership. So definitely want to move the podcast into a little bit more of an engaging space and more of a chatty space, like I said, as well as having the guests, because I think there's real value in that. I'm also trying to have a variety of guests as well. So 2022, I had a couple of guests and I did a couple of solo episodes, and I tried to have a bit of a variety. So all the way from Karen, if you haven't checked out that episode, again, it's in YouTube and on Spotify, women in biotech. And then all the way through to Carly, who is a woman in leadership that focuses on mental health, well-being, coaching, supporting and developing staff to progress, more of a vulnerable leadership lens as well as the mental health lens. So trying to get a wide variety. So also if there's somebody from a specific industry that you want on the podcast, again, just comment down below, send me a message on Instagram. It would be really, really cool to just have a variety of women. If you've got any suggestions of the type of people you would like on the podcast, would definitely be interested in to hear your views. Once again, thank you so much for all your support and engagement online in 2022. And here's to 2023, making it bigger, brighter and bolder than ever. Thank you for watching. Bye.